Hey everybody, today I want to tell you all about this rock. Well, it's just not any old ordinary rock, it's actually an authentic Aboriginal stone axe. I found it when I was a teenager when I was working on my parents' farm out near the Glasshouse Mountains, and not far from there is a special place where the Aboriginal people would make their stone axes. So today I'm heading out to Little Rocky Creek in Landsborough to see the spot where this stone axe was actually made many thousands of years ago. Before we head down to the axe grinding grooves, we'll have a look at the stone axes that I've brought with me today. As you can see, they come in all shapes and sizes. This smaller one my parents found on the farm, and that bigger one is the one I found. If you notice the scuff marks on both of them, both sides, that's where our farm machinery hit them over the years. And this smooth edge here, this formed edge, both sides, was done by the Aboriginal hunter on the axe grinding grooves I'm about to show you. Our farm is only about 2 kilometres from here, and I'll bet that these two stone axes were made right here at this site. So let's go down and take a look at where all the hard work was done. You need a good hard rock to make a stone axe. So what the Aboriginal people would do is go out to the Glasshouse Mountains and find a volcanic rock, and then bring it back here to the sandstone and turn that raw rock into a much needed survival tool. There is more than 80 different axe grinding grooves on this site, but they're a little bit hard to find unless you know what you're looking for. So let's go in for a closer look. You see this indentation here? That is a typical axe grinding groove. And what they would do is they'd get the rock and they'd rub back and forth for hours on end to make a stone axe. To actually make it a bit quicker, what they would do is splash a bit of water in there, add some sand, and that'd help grind a little bit quicker. I still reckon it'd take a bloody long time to make just one stone axe. The Aboriginal people had 4 uses for these grooves. Well, the first one was making an axe, as I showed you. The second one is they would put seeds and grain and roots of certain plants in the area and grind them up with a bigger, sort of more oval shaped stone in a bigger groove like this, and they would use that then in their cooking. Some of the grooves are much deeper and narrower than others. That's where the third use came along. They would sharpen their spears in here. Now here's my fake spear, my stick, just to demonstrate, and I won't actually grind, but they would move them back and forth to sharpen their spears. And the fourth use was, let's say you had a really hot date to go on, what they would do is splash a bit of water in there like that, wait for it to settle, and it works like a mirror. Looks like I need a shave. During the late 1800s, the main road from Brisbane to Gympie came straight through this site. In actual fact, there's some skid marks from a horse-drawn Cobb & Co coach that locked up the brakes as they were crossing the creek here. So how did all this happen? Well, the Aboriginal people had their own walking tracks through here over the years, and it was actually doubled up as a boundary between two tribes, the Jinnabara from the Blackall Range and the Gubby Gubby from the coast. And they would share this site. When white man came along, he just kept using the path. He had no idea of the significance of this spot. They eventually moved the road over to where it is now. And in recent years, when they were building a new bridge, the workmen noticed some strange markings in the rock. So what they did was they called in a local historian called Stan Tutt, and Stan identified the site as being culturally significant. He was also implemental in getting the council to preserve this site forever. So how did I end up with this stone axe? Well, many years ago, all this area was covered by thick, dense bush. And I'd say an Aboriginal hunter was running through the bush looking for his next meal, and he's lost it. It would have been near impossible to find, so he probably just came back here and made another stone axe. Then many years later, my parents bought the land and cleared it of all the trees so that we could farm. And one day, I was ploughing the field and I noticed that the plough had brought to the surface a rock. I knew straight away what it was because our farm didn't have a rock in sight. You could imagine how I felt when I stepped off the tractor and I picked up this rock, knowing that the last man to hold it was an Aboriginal hunter looking for his next meal. He was surrounded by bush and he relied on this stone axe for survival. In contrast, I'm standing in the same spot, not a tree in sight, and my survival tool is the tractor. Well, that's the story of this rock. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. See you next time.